Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Bell Falls Search Focus on Talent video series. This is the Digital Marketing Edition. Our guest today is the founder of a B2C focused engagement agency with expertise in PR, digital, and social media strategy. I've known her for several years and have always been a fan of her entrepreneurial focus and especially of the team she's built exclusively of women. She and her team deliver consistent results for her clients while providing a flexible environment for working moms. I'm honored to have with us today Michelle Venorsky, founder of Hello.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me on.
So first, for our listeners, can you take a step back and reintroduce yourself and talk about the career progression that's gotten you to where you are today?
Yeah, I wish I could say that there was some like something in me as a kid that knew I was going to do my own thing one day, or had some really cool story, but I don't. In fact, I'm surprised as anyone that I'm sitting here and talking to you because, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there that are surprised too that I own something, but I never in a million years thought that I was going to own something or run something. I never had those kinds of ambitions. I always had great admiration for anyone like yourself who takes a risk and goes off on their own. But I never really thought, that was me. I've been so unbelievably fortunate in my career, which has always been PR, primarily consumer PR, media relations. Then around 2005, this thing called Second Life, and you still had to have a .edu to get on Facebook, but started sprouting up. So then I started immersing myself into social media. So I really have a hybrid background of social as well as PR. But I've been so fortunate that I've worked at such great places with such great teams. And I never really saw myself here. But I'm also the kind of person that is not afraid to take risks or try something new. I was fired from my last job, and I no one likes to leave a job that's not on their own terms. But looking back now, it was the catalyst for so much good in my life. So I'm a huge believer that good can come out of anything. And I had a chance to go back to my, where I was before. I had a chance to go to another agency. I had a chance to go to client side, but I really kind of took a step back. And even though I never thought of myself as working here, at the time I was fired, my kids were a lot younger than they are now. And I was traveling a lot. Like it would have been the perfect job if I was in my 20s, but not somebody that just wasn't present for school. And what I realized for my last two employers was that I will always work. I love to work. I tip my hat to every stay-at-home mom out there. I think that's the hardest job in the world, but I also didn't want to suck at being a mom either. And so I decided that I really wanted to try and find more of a lifestyle career and something that let me thrive at work, but also not suck at being a mom. And it wasn't there. So I decided to create it myself. And before I do anything new, I always ask myself, well, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And I imagine it. And then I'm like, yeah, I could survive that. And I did that here. I'm like, well, if it, I don't try to have a big ego, but I know I'm good at what I do. So I knew that if this were to fail, that I could, go back somewhere else. But I was like, I want to try it because I know there's others like me that want to work, but also want that balance. And sometimes you have to make it yourself for it to happen. And that's how I got here. And here we are. This is our 8th year. So
Wow,
we're on to something.
Congratulations. Yes, you are. You touched on a few things I really want to unpack for a second before we move on to the next thing. And I hope I can remember them all. First, you are absolutely one of the most humbly confident people I've ever met. So I give you massive kudos for that. And one of the reasons I respect you so much. 2, I love the fact that you said you were fired. Because I've been fired too, and everyone thinks being fired is such a bad thing. And being fired is actually what helped me start my company finally.
Right?
And so, fist bump to you. Congratulations, because I think that's actually, I might talk about it or write a blog post about it. Being fired is not so bad. Now,
It's not.
if you suck at your job and you just don't go to work and you don't show up, that's a different story. But
100%.
sometimes people don't align in objectives and goals, and it got you to where you're at. So
Yeah.
thank you for
And
saying that.
and I always talk about that. And it always surprises me when people who that I know were fired, but they dance around or they don't say, I'm like, you just gotta own it. Like it's not, I don't think it's a reflection of who we are. Again, I mean, if you're showing up drunk every day to work and you got, that's a different thing. But where I was, before, a great organization. I have no regrets taking that job. I took that job knowing I'm probably not going to fit in with this culture because I was coming from a very different culture. But I sometimes you get an offer you can't say no to, and I was excited by it, so I was like, well, I'm going to try it. But I knew going in this may be hard, and I have no regrets. I built a great team. I met so many wonderful people. Even the person who fired me, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from him. And again, nobody likes to leave a job that's not on their terms. But I could have also. It was also a very learning experience for me. Probably more than you want to know. I'm a ridiculously stubborn individual, and I didn't make changes that were asked of me. So I probably could have handled things differently. But again, it got me here now, and I learned a lot about. Myself through it. I have no regrets. And I think that a lot of good can come out of being fired. And sometimes it's that push that we all need. Look how it turned out for you too.
Yeah, I have the biggest smile on my face right now because I just couldn't agree with you more. All right, so moving on. Typically, this is where I ask my guests to talk about case studies from their experiences. But in your situation, I'd love to focus on Hello, and I'd love your agency, and I'd love to focus on. And you started touching on it a little bit, but why is it women only, and what types of opportunities do you present? And I've obviously a huge fan of you guys, of your team, and what you've done, and the focus you have on being who you want to be.
Yeah. And thank you. You really have always been so kind to me and to us as an agency. And so I appreciate that. I have mad respect for you too. So thank you very much. It's not that we're anti-male at all, right?
Yep.
We're not that kind of group. And I have been so fortunate enough that throughout my career, one of my mentors is a man, a guy by the name of Mark Bachman. I learned so much from him. There's been great guys along the way that have impacted my career in a positive way. But there's just something about, at the end of the day, that just women that just gets, and no matter how understanding of an organization that that can try and be, or how forward thinking or progressive they think that they are, there's still that mentality that if you as a woman, leave early or request days off or try and do both, you are seen as weak, or you are seen as not a team player. In every place since I've had kids, the two agencies that I worked before that, I negotiated that I would have, Fridays off. And there's still people who would, question that or look down upon it. But if a male colleague were to leave early or to go coach a game, no offense, they're a goddamn hero, right? And it's very different for women. And sometimes you feel the need that you want to hide what you're doing. And I didn't want to do that anymore. And I didn't want other women, and not everyone that works here, there's 8 women that work here. Not all are moms, 6 out of the 8 are. So that's not like a prerequisite that you have to be a mom, to work here. But it's not just your kids, it's your mental health, or it's just all of these things that working in an agency that we take for granted. Because when you're in an agency, your client service, you are always on, especially when you're doing social media for a client. Your evenings, weekends, it's not banker's hours, right? So you need to have that balance, and you should know that you are with a team that respects that balance and wants you to go do recess duty, wants you to go, volunteer for field day or take the day off because you just need it, or whatever it may be. So even before we had our first client, I mapped out exactly what I wanted our ideal state to be, like from a culture standpoint. And it is not for everybody. There are some people that have walked through our doors, and it's can be a hard pill to swallow because they don't. It's unlike anything that they've ever encountered before. Not having PTO, not having we have unlimited PTO rather, no set office hours. We were virtual a couple days a week even before the pandemic, and now we're gonna, post pandemic, when we come out of this, we're gonna do virtual 3 days, 2 days in, and then again, not having to make excuses of where you're going to be during the day if you're going to do something with your family. And I apologize, I ramble a lot. So it was just thinking about what would I want, especially if when I was a young mom. My kids are older now, and what would make me stay at a place and create that ideal lifestyle career. And we did it. There's a lot that I can't compete with. There are so many good agencies in town, right? There's everywhere you look. We're just loaded with talent. You know this. And I think we pay pretty well here and offer some good benefits, but I'll never be able to compete with the big guys. But I can on culture, and I can give people a place where they can thrive at their job and have some cool experiences. We're really fortunate with the clients that we have, but also not have to sacrifice who they are or who they are as a mom.
I love it. And my two big takeaways are, first, and I wrote a blog post about this a little bit as it relates to core values. Lots of people write down core values, put them on their website, stick them on their wall, but they don't actually follow them. Hello and you are the epitome of creating core values and following them to the T. That's the first thing, and a great example of that for anyone out there who wants to learn about that. And second, the biggest thing I want to share about your model is that there's so much more talent out there that just gets, I'll just say of the demographic you talked about, that just gets missed, that companies could be leveraging to get more done and to get more, not just more done, but higher quality, thoughtful, introspective work. So appreciate that perspective. And I hope maybe we could change a few more minds with this call. Moving on to the talent piece. So these are great transitions. Thank you. For the first segment of my talent market, for entry level / college students, getting ready to come out and join the workforce, what tips or suggestions would you give to them, especially as it relates to, new trends or hottest trends in kind of the marketing field? What should they focus on, and what should they absolutely come out of school with to be best prepared?
Yeah, well, so there's a couple different thoughts that I have here. So one, for those that just are like, I want to work in social media, right? Focus on journalism, focus on, although there's a lot of great schools that offer courses within social, but I always tell people, but focus on journalism, because that will give you the foundation, right, for great content, being a great writer, understanding what makes a great story. All of these are building blocks for social. And then you also can work in PR as well. So a degree in journalism, if you want to pursue PR and social, is really the way to go. And if you can get an internship, and but all that said, if you still really want to focus on doing something social, you have to make sure you understand analytics. So take a lot of classes within analytics, because it is not just, I always tell people, posting something on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, that's great. Congratulations. That's 10% of the job. That's being generous. This is the problem with social, is that we're all on it in our personal lives, probably too much. And so therefore we're all experts. Well, I always tell people, I watch a lot of HGTV. That doesn't mean anybody's hiring me to design their house anytime soon, right? So again, that's great that the channels, but you really have to understand so much more behind it. You have to understand the different, understanding the different channels, the role of each channel, what makes great content. You have to understand the analytics. You have to understand what the FTC says you can and can't do. You have to have the wherewithal of understanding potential vulnerabilities, because things can and will go wrong, every single day. So get some experience in that. We get so many resumes where they list, their personal channels as their experience. I'm like, that's great. Again, that's great that you have to start somewhere. But that's not enough. That's not enough for us to take a candidate potentially seriously. You know, getting an internship or even shadowing somebody within social, or really understanding it more than just, but I'm on it all the time, and I do it all the time. It's surprises me how much we see that, on resumes. And then the other thing, is reach out, like even if some place isn't hiring, ask to grab coffee, right? Can I meet you for coffee? Can I come in? Every single person that reaches out to here, for a job or for an internship, and if we're not hiring, I say, we're not hiring, but do you want to grab coffee? I am more than willing to talk to you about, this is a small town. I know a lot of the agencies. I know a lot of people. You never know where one conversation is going to go. And the past 8 years, maybe less than 5 have taken me up on that. And 2 of them now are sitting at Hello, and they're employed here.
Yep.
Right. Because they were like, great, but I want to keep that conversation going. So it amazes me how many people don't. And they're so hungry for that job, which I get. And they're quick to, next and go on to something else without knowing that, but you don't know where that conversation could go.
Yep. Well, it's the same thing with people even currently employed. Lots of times they think that networking and coffees are only for when they're looking for a job, or when they're already out of job and they need their next thing. It's too late. You should be doing that all the time to develop and learn and get exposure to things that you might not be in your current situation.
100%. When I started Hello, I had no flipping clue what I was doing. Literally no clue. And I reached out to everyone on my network, and I was like, can I buy you coffee? Can I buy you lunch? How did you get started? Tell me. And then just getting reacquainted with everybody, saying, look, here's what I'm up to. I'm scrappy. If you've got something you don't want, I'm happy to take a look at it, or I can help your team. You can call me, part of your agency or whatever you want. I just want to work. And that's really how we got started, was reaching out to our network.
Last thing, as a person who's hired lots of people over the years in different roles, and especially at Hello, what do you suggest to people to differentiate themselves in the interview process?
Yeah, tell us something that sparked your interest. I know, you're searching and you're like probably reaching out to everybody. I get that. I've been in those shoes many times. But what is it specifically about Hello that's, sparked your interest? There's just the simple things of, just saying, hello, hiring person, or hello, founder, or hello, I've been called Michael, right? Just knowing who you're reaching out to. And then what was it about Hello that caught your interest, or how do you see yourself here? Anytime somebody demonstrates that they've done their homework, I get really excited about. And especially given half of what we do is PR, and is identifying the story and doing the research. And so I expect that, that starts from the moment that somebody's reaching out to us that wants to work here. Well, did you do the homework? What's your angle? I'm always seeking those types of things out, and that goes so far.
Gotcha. No, that's good advice. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Is there any, I'll say most memorable candidate experience or presentation that comes to mind?
Yeah, we had an intern. Her name was Hallie, and this might have been 2 or 3 years ago. And she designed this almost like this poster of Hello, if you will. And it was it was more like a trifold card, and it had Hello, like our logo on the outside. And when it opened up, it talked about herself. And then I just thought that was the fact that she took the time to do that and thought creatively and differently about something. It was so fantastic. And then when she came, she brought us all Hello mugs, which I'm not saying people have to buy us anything, but it was just, she bought us these different things with Hello. And the conversation with her, she really demonstrated, she, in every answer to our questions, she was about how she could see herself fitting in here. So it's just that first impression is everything, right? It's your first handshake. Everybody remembers if it's a good handshake or a bad handshake.
Yep.
And hers was that she just went the extra mile, and demonstrated other skills. We're not a creative agency, but I liked her creative presentation. And I thought that was pretty cool that she had that skill set, and just how she clearly understood our culture and what we were all about, and how she, she wove that into her responses. Yeah, it left a mark.
Excellent. I've said it once and I'll say it again, or I've said it many times and I'll say it again. I call it it's like elementary school. It's like the show and tell day when you get to bring something. It's so differentiating, and it's such a good idea, whether it's a personalized card or a presentation, just something to make yourself stand out
Yeah.
is always a great idea.
Yeah, agree.
Well, Michelle, I appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this today and sharing your thoughts, especially about Hello and your vision and culture. And until next time, thanks again.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.